try that. Can someone speak again remotely?
This is Julia.
Perfect. Thank you.
Testing. All right. Thanks for your patience, you guys. We have worked our way through our technical difficulties for the July LEPC meeting. Adrian Beck couldn't make it today, so I'm standing in for her. I'm going to lead this meeting with our chair, Chuck. The vice chair has resigned, has gone back to the East Coast, so we'll be looking for a new vice chair probably at the next meeting, I do believe. But according to the agenda, we're going to start off with introductions. I'm Ken Parks, Deputy Director, the Office of Emergency Management.
Good morning, Randy Ocon, Missoula County OEM.
Cindy Super, Missoula County Search and Rescue.
Max Repoltz, Missoula County OEM.
Dave Strohmeyer, Missoula County Commissioner.
Chris Clark, Facilities and Security Manager, Community Medical Center.
Eric Legvold, United Way.
Tim LaRoche, Missoula County Wildfire Program.
Matthew Mill, the Terminal Supervisor, CHS Pipeline Terminal.
Robert Carpenter, Western Montana Association of Chaplains. Yeah.
Mitch Warretz, Western Montana Chaplains also.
I'm Tim DeFors, the Missoula County Citizen Representative.
Lois Walsh, Missoula County CERT.
Thanks, you guys. Okay, the next item on our agenda was the vice chair election. And talking to everybody and given that this is, let's see, let's go down who we have online real quick. Showing online, we've got Marty Whitmore from the Weather Service. Jacob Halley, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, this is Jake Halley. I'm with Integrated Solutions Consulting. Going to be just doing a quick recap of the mitigation planning process.
Excellent. Timothy Jacobs.
Yeah, Missoula, Montana CERT and County Citizen Representative.
Janessa Babcock.
Here representing Partners in Home Care.
Angela Yance.
I'm from the City of Missoula Public Works Safety.
David Younger. You're still on mute, Dave. Okay, Corey Hafner. Dean Christensen.
Yeah, good afternoon. Dean Christensen, Safety and Security for St. Patrick Hospital.
Excellent. Corey, I saw you come off mute there.
Yeah, Thatcher Company, Montana, small chemical company here in Missoula.
Excellent. Welcome. Tommy Driscoll.
I'm with Child Care Resources.
Okay, is there anybody online that I missed?
Yep, Julia Gore. I'm the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator at the Health Department, and I'll be sharing about AFN and heat.
And Alicia
Travis
Nichols, the Equity Coordinator for Missoula County.
Travis Hoffman with Summit Independent Living.
This is Todd Seib with Missoula Valley Water Quality District.
Okay. Let's see, I think we got everybody. And just for your information, this meeting is being recorded by MCAT, maybe, and certainly by us on the Teams meeting. So just for your awareness. Okay. let's see. All right, well, I think we got introductions in then. Moving on, the vice chair election, we decided to postpone just due to the light attendance that it generally happens in the July meeting. So in October, we will be looking for a new vice chair for the LEPC to serve under Chuck Emmett, who's the chair at this time. And at this moment, we will move to approve the minutes from the last meeting. They were located on the back table if you haven't seen them. Nothing earth-shattering in there. If anybody has comment on the minutes or would like to change something, now is time. Okay, we've got a motion and a second, so the minutes from the last meeting are approved. Okay, now's the time in the meeting when we open it up to public comment. If there's anybody out there who has something to share with the group, this is your time to speak. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to bullet point number 5, where Jake Halley from the Integrated Solutions Consulting is going to talk about our pre-disaster mitigation plan and give us an update. Go ahead, Jake, take it away.
Thanks, Ken. As many of you know, we met last month. I got to meet most of you in person finally, but process is well underway. That was our stakeholder jurisdictional workshop process that we went through in June, to where we officially ranked the hazards. Those rankings will be finalized in the plan update. We're nearing that part right now to finalize that qualitative assessment that we did, along with the quantitative data that we pulled for the plan. But also the other big thing that we went over in that meeting was the identifying new actions or projects for your mitigation plan. So right now, I think to date, we've received around 10 action items from the different stakeholders throughout the process. So if you do have any more potential action items, if you would get with Nick Holloway or Adrian, send that information over. If you got questions, they have the actual worksheets that we developed. So if you've got any ideas that you want to include in the plan update, we just ask that you get those in as soon as possible, preferably by the end of this week, so that we can assure that we account for all of those action items in the plan process. Once we get that information finalized, that's the last big lift of the project. And then we'll be able to finally put the rest of that mitigation strategy together and finalize that portion of the plan, and hopefully get the draft over to you guys end of the month, first of next month type time frame, so we can get that submitted, so we can get your plan approved pending adoption status, and then get it adopted through FEMA. But that's pretty much where we're at. Again, I enjoyed meeting everybody in person. Tried my best to talk my wife into selling our house in Louisiana and moving to Montana after seeing how beautiful it was, but to no avail. But I tried. But again, thank you. If you have any questions, reach out at any point, because my email is available. I'm available by phone or email anytime. But thanks again.
You bet, Jake. If anybody has any comments or questions for Jake, now would be the time. You're welcome.
Hi, Jake. This is Tim DeFors. I'm the Missoula County citizen representative, one of them at least. You talked about at the meeting last month, and I wasn't able to go, I'm sorry, but that one of the achievements was you identified the hazards and ranked them. Can you kind of quickly touch base on what those hazards were and kind of how you ranked them? Thanks.
Yeah, let me I have to pull the presentation up and see exactly what the final rankings were. It was get my presentation here. Basically, we went through all of the natural hazards for the community. That is the primary focus. It's wildfire, flooding, severe weather, including that's one that we looked at from a standpoint of severe weather in terms of winter storms, winter weather, and broke it out as in severe weather in terms of wind, hail, tornado, and lightning, avalanche, earthquake, And dam failure was one we had quite a bit of discussion on, because even though it's one of those gray area hazards, it's considered natural hazard. So we did address that. The only two non-natural hazards that are in your mitigation plan is HazMat incident train derailments and then communicable disease. But pretty much the top rated hazards from the qualitative standpoint were wildfire, flooding, and the severe weather hazards. And that's mainly from a aspect of probability and then the consideration for the extent of the hazards and the vulnerability of the community. The other hazards kind of fell all in the middle range, with some like earthquake fell a little bit lower due to the lack of probability. But it bumped up a bit due to the sheer impact that would occur if it did occur. That's kind of just a general overview, but all of that information, the rankings of the hazards, will be provided in the draft once we send it over to you guys to review, and that'll also go out to a public comment period. So if you have any comments or questions about how anything was done through that process, you'll have an opportunity then to reply back to any of those potential discrepancies that you see in general.
Okay. Thanks, Jake. Anybody else? All right. Well, let's move on to the next portion. We're going to get an update from Marty over at the National Weather Service. He's going to tell us all about the rest of our summer. Marty, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. So I couldn't be there in person. Got some VIPs from our regional office here. We're going through a program review. So anyway, I'm going to talk fire weather for the most part, or fire season outlook. And in doing so, just to let everybody know, there's a group of meteorologists around the country called Predictive Services, actually employed by the land management community, and they're the ones that actually put out the official, fire season potential outlook, and they do it monthly. So they just updated the one in early July. So I'm going to really sort of just run through what they went through. So are you seeing my screen being shared?
Yes.
So I'm giving them credit here. These folks are tied to the Northern Rockies geographical area, of course, headquartered here in Missoula. But actually now they at least the two meteorologists are working remote. They're both Billings residents, so they're working out of Billings for the most part. And I think if they ever get to like a planning level 4 or higher, they'll come over here and support more directly. But we work in partnership with these folks. So the fire analyst Aaron, I'm not sure where that person is located for sure. But anyway, I thought I better give them credit since I'm basically showing what they came up with. And this focuses on beyond Western Montana, but we'll dial it in as we go along here. So that top point is the biggest one that probably concerns us or our nearby neighbors. It's really sort of the Panhandle and far northwest Montana that's seeing the most problematic drought conditions and therefore fuels conditions as we go through. Parts of Montana certainly have undergone a dramatic improvement compared to a year ago this time, and essentially for the long-term forecast, El Nino is going to prevail after about three years of La Nina. So sometimes that's hard to understand what El Nino really does in the summer, as much as it seems to have a stronger signature for us in the winter. So we'll see what the upcoming winter forecast looks like at a later time. But anyway, we start looking at precipitation deficits or surpluses, depending on where you're at. This is since the beginning of the water year, October 1st. And you can see if you're a ways from the screen, here's Missoula over in here. Essentially, we're on the edge of an area that's seen quite a deficit in the last many months here, north central Idaho, or northern Idaho, I should say, and northwest Montana, pretty extreme. And then To our south, down the Beaverhead Deer Lodge and whatnot, it's been a little wetter than normal. In some places in central Montana, very wet. But if you see these numbers and what this text is alluding to, there's some deficits that are upwards of 10 inches in that time period. I mean, that's going to be hard to recover from. You don't recover from that from a storm. You know, it's going to take it would take months of wetter than normal conditions to recover from that. So we'll see how it looks. So the latest drought signature, and this is done by input from the field, and all across Montana, the Weather Service is involved, DNRC is involved, a host of different agencies are involved, and they submit this to the drought authors once a week. So it's updated pretty frequently. This one was less than a week ago, and by and large, this just shows what that deficit was showing. Here in Missoula, Missoula County is basically on the edge of the droughty conditions, but you go north, up in the Flathead, Glacier National Park, the Kootenai National Forest, those areas are well ahead of us when it comes to drying and problematic fuels. And here's, by the way, what it looked like a year ago. So the western states as a whole are so much better. If you take California and the Great Basin into account, you remember all the atmospheric rivers they had over the winter. Really got rid of their drought situation. And then central Montana also had some extreme drought going on last year at this time, and now for the most part that's been removed. But here and maybe for Missoula County, there's not a whole lot of difference between last year and this year, but certainly that northwest Montana, it's in worse shape. If we take it a little closer, just the last 60 days, the similar trend continues. Maybe not quite as widespread. It looked like the mountains have had poorer results from moisture than the valleys. Doesn't necessarily mean the mountains got less, just means compared to their normal and what they should have had through a relatively wet period of May and June. They just didn't do that well up to our north, but down here we had a relatively wet period, and farther south it's been even wetter than that. If you look at temperatures, similar thing. The problematic temperatures kind of overlaid with the problematic lack of precipitation. So up there in Northwest, not only were they dry, they had more heat compared to normal than we have in some of the rest of the state. So that's just exacerbated the fuels problems up there. That's all what's happened so far. This is actually an outlook, so very much human intervention. Climatologists look into this, but basically it's saying where there's drought, they expect the drought to persist, not really an improvement. But where there's no drought, they don't necessarily expect us to worsen. So kind of static situation here through the summer is what it's looking like. And so that's based on what I'll show you here. If we look at essentially the rest of July into very early August, this is the 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, certainly showing a warmer than normal signature, pretty strong over the Pacific Northwest and right into that area of concern in northwest Montana. A little bit weaker signature toward warm, but nevertheless a warmer period through the rest of the month, but not any really signature toward precipitation. But we know as we get into this time of year, the normal condition is dry for us. We just don't see a lot of precipitation in July unless you get very focused thunderstorms. I certainly had a nice wet one go over my house last night, but it just wasn't all that widespread. So it's hard to get widespread precipitation in the summer here in the northern Rockies. Then we step it out through July, August, and September. This hasn't really changed a lot. Large part of the West is expecting warmer than normal. It's not a real strong signature over the northern Rockies, but still looking warmer than normal for our summertime period, and not a lot of signature for precipitation except the southern part of the state, looking a little bit wetter. Step it out one more month. So this is August, September, October. Similar pattern, warmer than normal, looks to be the pattern to follow, although it's not a real strong signature and maybe a little bit more of a signature toward dry. So we don't see any relief from the droughty conditions up there in the Northwest. So if we look at what they actually put out as a forecast, and when they got to the beginning of July, they added in October here. So if you focus here on July again, all this is saying, it's not saying it's going to be really bad fire in July up in Northwest Montana, but greater than active, greater than normal activity up there. And certainly we've been hearing from the forests up there, the Kootenai and the Flathead and the Northwest Land Office, DNRC, have been picking up fires. They've been pretty easily caught, I believe. I did see that the Kootenai National Forest went to very high fire danger. Part of that was coincidental with the 4th of July, which naturally is a response there. They're expecting the above normal activity to spread a little bit more eastward and southward across our area, hang in there in September, and then fade away in October. So it's not overall not a bad outlook for a fire season, particularly the Lolo, the Bitterroot, Beaverhead, Deer Lodge, south of us and into central Montana actually doesn't look necessarily overly active. So that's about it. Unless you guys got any questions, that's as far as I was planning on going.
Excellent. Thanks, Marty. Any questions for the Weather Service? Okay, hearing none. Thanks, Marty. Okay, the next on our agenda is emergency alerts issued this quarter. OEM has sent 7 alerts since the last LEPC meeting. We had one missing person with resolution, 1 law enforcement activity, shelter in place, and that came to resolution, 1 missing person with resolution, and 1 flood alert for the Tower Kerwald area. And those were the alerts that we issued. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay. Now we'll go to our LEP Standing Committee reports and updates. From the IMT Oversight Committee, they haven't met in some time, but just an update on the Western Montana All Hazard Incident Management Team. They are staffed, ready to go. We did run a exercise in early June. That went really well. We got our equipment out, set up our trailers, set up our electronics, had some burgers. It was a lovely time, and I think that we're standing and ready to go. We have a few members, such as myself, that have some commitments here in late July that may preclude any assignments until August or so, which is okay. Given the fire season outlook, I think that locally we have a little bit of time before we start to see fires in our area. So that's the IMT Oversight Committee. I'll turn it over to Julia Gore for Access and Functional Needs.
Thanks, Ken. I had some dental work done today, so I'm going to keep my comments pretty brief. For access and functional needs, our last meeting was back in April. We were scheduled to meet again this July, but decided to postpone until August due to vacations, and the National Access and Functional Needs Symposium is going on this week, so I encouraged our AFN committee members to attend that in lieu of our meeting, and again, we'll meet in August. Skipping ahead to heat, our health emergency advisory team. Since COVID, this group has not been meeting regularly or in person, so that is something Cindy Farr and I are currently working on, reaching out to everyone and making sure all of my lists are accurate and up to date, and then we will start meeting again soon. hopefully once the summer kind of wraps up and folks are back from vacations. If you have any questions on AFN or HEAT, you can shoot me an email and I'll put my email in the chat. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Julia. Any questions out there? Okay. All right. Our next topic is grants. Adrian couldn't make it, and she didn't have a lot to update on any of the grants that are pending or moving around. If anybody else has any insight into any grants out there, this is the time to talk about them. Looking around, nobody. Okay, no problems. All right, upcoming trainings and exercises. We are organizing from our office a ICS 400 that will be occurring this fall, late September, early October. Once I have that date down and have that down, I'll send that out to everybody so that if you are in need of an ICS 400, if you've had 300 and you've been looking for 400, which can be hard to find, I will be organizing that and get that information out to the group as soon as I have a little bit more of it put together. So look out for that coming up. Hopefully that'll occur before the next LEPC meeting or shortly after. That's all that I had. Does anybody else have any training or exercises they'd like to share with the group? Okay. Local and statewide hazmat incidents. I believe there have been 0, but correct me if I'm wrong.
We had the airport exercise, right?
Oh yeah, we did have the airport exercise, and that went really well. I didn't get to attend other than opened up the EOC here in locally down in the basement to help coordinate with the EOC that had opened up at the airport, and I thought that coordination went really well between the 911 center and the exercise. Randy, you have any comments from the airport exercise? No, all I heard was it was the best exercise ever. So everybody loved it, thought it went really well. From my perspective where I was, I thought it went really well. So I thought there were some lessons learned and some things went well there. Thanks, Chuck. Okay.
All right.
Got it?
Yeah. So the last item on the agenda is a roundtable or any other business. And so we'll just kind of open the meeting up for that.
Hi, team. This is Dean over at St. Pat's.
Go ahead, Dean.
Hey, just you guys probably know on the board, obviously, that we lost our EM coordinator, Dave Correa. He had to head back to Boston, take care of a family member. So he is no longer with us here, but we're currently working on hiring his replacement. We've had several applicants, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll have made a decision and we'll bring somebody back and then have them attend this next meeting as one of their duties so that they'll be back in the loop again. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Any other business?
Hey, this is Marty again. I talked about fire weather. I didn't really talk about water supply. That's certainly a ramification of the dry conditions too. You probably all have seen the articles about Flathead Lake being worrisomely low and what to do about that. There's been news. In fact, we had KPAX in our office yesterday to interview us about that. But yeah, low stream flows. So that's not going to improve obviously over the summer, but low stream flows to our north. Down here, we're sort of a mix of near normal to below normal stream flows, but water supply is always an interesting issue in the summer, and it seems to be really raising its head up in the northwest Montana right now. So just kind of thought I should mention that too.
Okay, thanks, Marty. Anyone else? Okay, if there's no other business or comments, then I move that we go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Any motions to adjourn? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Hope to see you
Thank
all
you.
in September.